I still come out on the side of read this series. And it's only when I think about why you shouldn't that it makes me hesitant to recommend it. But I do still recommend it. So, book 12. Remember all the good things I liked about the Sookie Stackhouse series? You can say goodbye to them. After everything that's happened in the series, Harris, I don't know, maybe somehow she magically heard my views before I even had them and had to prove me wrong, because this book is unadulterated crap. I was reading it on my Kindle, but I wanted to throw my Kindle across the room. I was so angry. Let me try to calm down and talk about this rationally, like I've talked about the rest of the series, because that is how I want to be, but I cannot tell you how angry this book made me. So, this book had a murder mystery that Sookie had to solve, and basically Harris is tying up the series, and it was incredibly obvious because she took every loose end, every plot thread that's been weaved in and out of the books, and she tied them all up into a neat little bow and ended the book with a potential conclusion to everything. Really, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Harris only writes one more Sookie Stackhouse book. And good for Harris that she's finishing it. This was an important part of her life, I'm sure. I mean, it spawned a TV show. It spawned New York Times bestseller books, and she's lived with this character since 2001. And I am sure that that gets tiring. I'm a writer too, and I know how it feels to have a character live in your head and demand your time, and you want them out. And I don't want to provide any spoilers in this section, so this section is going to be really short. It feels like Harris tied up every loose end possible. I can't think of any she didn't tie up, and insisted that Sookie be dumb again. Sookie was very much the Sookie of books 1 through 4. She was much more passive. She was refusing to acknowledge truths that were right in front of her. She didn't ask questions that she very obviously should have asked. And hands down, if I hadn't read the whole series so quickly and I'd anxiously awaited this book coming out and I read it, I'd never read another book of the series ever again, and it's quite frankly disappointing, because I know that I have my mixed feelings about the series, but the series is still worth something, and I talked about why, and it's like Harris just she didn't care anymore about the characters in a way. It was like she just waved goodbye and said, okay, I'm done, and I'm just going to phone it in for this book. And some of that is, I think, because she went back to her old way of doing things, the murder mystery, and everything that entails, and how, for when you have a female protagonist, that rests heavily on certain aspects that I talked about in my spoiler review for books 1 through 11, and we'll talk about in the spoiler section of this review. I feel like she kind of spit in our faces a lot, and I think that it really did a disservice to fans of the series. Basically, if I had read all 12 books in the series, I would have told you to never read the series. I'm gonna just stop now with the non-spoiler part. I'm gonna go into specifics now, so if you haven't read the series, turn the review off, read whatever you need to read, and then come back. The attempted rape is a gangbang. It's like she made up for the fact that there'd been no attempted rape for like 7 books by having it be a gangbang. What the hell, Harris? I can't function when things like this happen. All the good things that Harris did with this series are just, they're out the window. You killed Claudine. I mean, yes, like 2 books ago, but I'm still a little upset about that, okay? I have to say. I loved Claudine. She was pregnant. This is not fair. You kill off Claudine, and 2 books later, you've tied up the entire series. She took everything that Sookie said about not getting together with Sam. It's out the window now. It is so obvious Sookie's ending up with Sam, that if Harris writes more than one book to, like, have this happen and resolve the series, I will be shocked. Like, it really feels like Harris threw the towel in. And she did so in every stereotypical fashion imaginable. She has attempted rape, she has the murder mystery, she has death. It's the passive death, too. You have Sookie being really stupid. She allows the death of someone. She's caused the death of someone. She just lets it happen. She doesn't do it herself. And the resolution of Eric's and her relationship, I think, was very true. And props to Harris for that. I think that Eric manipulated Sookie. I think that he had been manipulating Sookie, and I think that it was really terrible for her. And I think that ultimately she's right that they wanted different things. And I think that that's very true. One's going to live forever and the other one doesn't want to be a vampire. And I think that by making that crystal clear, that it did set up that Sookie's not ending up with a vampire. And I think that seeing as how Eric was the only real vampire contender, because Bill is absolutely out of the question, and if Harris had gone back to Bill, I would have rage quit and this video would be filled with incoherent screaming. It's very obvious that it was going to be a shapeshifter, because especially werewolves, but any of the were animals, their rituals and behaviors and how they deal with things are still too, forgive my pun, animalistic. Best word I have. They're too animalistic for her. She's not them. And I think that that's why that they end up with their own. And I think that there's good reason for that. Outsiders don't understand, and she doesn't. And she's perfectly fine being the friend of the pack and helping out and doing good, but she's not going to end up with them. And so she wrote herself into a corner, it feels like. So all of a sudden you have Sam, who has made it known that he likes her. And by the way, I root for Sam. I really and truly do. And I really hated him dating Charlaine as much as Sookie did, because while I understand why he was, it was still kind of crap. And it's kind of like when Sam dated Marianne in season 2 of True Blood, or whatever season that was. However, Sookie's reasons for not dating Sam haven't gone away. And just because Sookie's now part owner of the bar doesn't mean that they can date. And seeing as how Sookie never expressed real interest in Sam, other than under extreme duress from external factors, I never saw them getting together. And I think that there is a bit of a disservice there, even to those of us who did root for Sam and Sookie, because it felt forced. And considering that she saved his life with a magical object, I'd say that says a lot, because it is forced. Sookie forced Sam's life back into him with a magical object. There you go. But oh, the attempted rape. I cannot express how disappointed I am. And also, kind of wanted Claude to just be douchey and not actually, be trying to kill her or anything. That kind of really sucked. I like her other cousin. They're still characters I like. But she also really made Sookie a lot dumber in this book, and I think that it was, quite honestly, a huge step back. I don't really know how I'm going to feel about the next book in the series, and I don't know when it's coming out, and I honestly don't know if I'm going to pick it up. I'd say now, read the series at your own risk, and if you start to like it, be aware of book 12 and the fact that it may not go well. It certainly didn't go over well with me. Okay, so I'm the real Heather Lynn. This is Lounge Chair Reviews. We're done with Sookie Stackhouse, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, keep our libraries alive and keep on reading.